Alright, here we go. Alright, I'm going to start working on the Astrodoodle now. Thanks for showing up, folks. Hi, Maria. Hello, Ivona. I'm just so give me a few minutes. I'm just going to do what I do here. So just to get comfortable, get just some refreshments, get some snacks, and settle in. We'll see who else shows up. I'm not quite sure who, but we'll see. I'm going to play some more music while we do all that stuff and go from there. Okay, let's see what happens. Alrighty. we're getting there. I want to put the aspects in and color it up, okay? Let's see. Hold on. Let's hold it off there a minute, and then I'm going to come and visit. I'll be right there. Give me a second. Jeffrey, greetings. Good evening. Alright, so here's your typical Terra Lumination Astrodoodle. It's just, it's like a little weather chart, and each one's different and always will be. I'm only marking the aspects that really stand out to me. There's lots of other things that go on, but I don't know enough about all the fixed stars and the asteroids that are whizzing around doing their own things. And I've studied that, I've read about them, and I had to put it all aside because for me it's enough just to deal with this. And this covers a lot. I mean, they're really serious high-end academic astrologers. Your whole chart you would just see a big splurge of red and green and yellow and blue and orange, and you wouldn't have a clue what's going on. So anyway, I just strip it down to the basics, okay? It just makes it a little bit more digestible. Yeah. So that's where we are right now. Let's have a look. Just want to say, yeah. Apparently the stream is quite poor tonight, but it's still going. Everything looks good here, but it says that on the YouTube platform it's not so great. So I'm going to I think I'm just going to make some extra room here. Put that over here. As you can tell, we're still early in September, and we have this massive wall of retrograde energy here. You can tell most people are familiar with, this is the sun, this is the moon, this is the node, this is Mercury, Venus, and Mars. Those are all the personal planets because we can feel their energy pretty directly, and the planets move relatively quickly. Most of us have heard about Mercury retrograde, but Venus and Mars retrogrades as well, and the rest of them over here. But, when you look at this, you're looking at Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, all retrograde. What does that tell you? Well, I'll tell you what it tells me. It tells me that we have a lot of, let's say, revisions, remakes, reassessments, reevaluations, repurposing, remodeling, relearning, re-understanding, rebuilding, because there is so much, basically, CRAP that is revealed, like with humanity and life on Earth and how we as human beings are conducting ourselves relative to the laws of nature. Hello, Necessary Truth, I see you. And what this is asking us to do is to go very, 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 very deep to the pit of our souls to find out who are we really and what the hell are we doing here? How do we get into our situation? And it's very, very extreme because we're dealing with Pluto, okay, among other things. And so when I see this, I look at, first of all, I look at, this is little old planet Earth. But outside of Earth, there's this whole solar system. I think I did a doodle about that the other day. This is the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Moon, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Of course, it's not drawn to scale, and most of it would look like this, if you were standing in the middle of the sun looking out at our solar system. But I'm outside the solar system looking down from outer space. And this little collection of orbiting planets whizzes around our sun, which is like a star. It's a medium-sized star, apparently. And this is just one of billions of stars in our galaxy, which is the Milky Way galaxy. But there's millions of galaxies. So in some ways, you could look at humanity and planet Earth, that's this little thing here, as extremely irrelevant. I mean, what are we doing here? So far, there are human beings we've called them human beings for about the last 150,000 years. Before that, they were called hominids, but they didn't know that. They had more hair, and they were kind of primitive compared to the way things are today. But they were as advanced as you could get at their time. And here we are today, about 150,000 years later, and this is still happening. All this stuff is still going on here. It all whizzes around, okay? And all of these amazing spheres have gravitational impact on us and each other. This one could be over here. I mean, I just drew them here so you could see them kind of lined up. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Moon, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. But, at any point in time, any one of these could be anywhere, Here's Pluto. This takes about 250 years to do this, okay? Mercury takes about 1 year to do this. Okay, do you see what we're doing here? Neptune takes about, about 175. Neptune takes 175 to do all this. And Uranus takes about 84. And the Moon takes about 28 Earth days to do one of these. And it's all extremely well tabulated in a good old-fashioned paper ephemeris. Okay? It's all right there. It's all highly predictable. None of this is news to astronomers and NASA and space stations and all of that. All of this stuff is extremely well charted, extremely well monitored, and they can use very advanced mathematics to decide when is a good day or not so good day to send a rocket from here to go to here, or go to here, or go to here, or go to there. And they know all about the gravity. They know how to send a rocket or a satellite out from here, and they know how to send it in the orbital field of Jupiter and take a huge, like, slingshot boost of gravitational speed and send it way out. And they've been doing this for decades now. It's the space program and all of that. But, in terms of, let's say, what do you call it, human evolution, it's still very new. And what I'm noticing happening is that ever since the discovery of the discovery of Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, our so-called evolution has accelerated dramatically in terms of what goes on up in our brains and our science, our knowledge, our information, our awareness. And our actual physiology is not so well caught up. So you can have these like quant kids, like these kids like 18 and 20 and 30 years old who are like freaking Einstein geniuses, and they're walking around with tattoos and curly hair and acne, and they know all about computer coding, and they know how to create incredibly powerful algorithms that generate money and blah, 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 blah. But a lot of times today, people don't seem to, there's a lot of people who don't really have much contact with nature or earth. I was watching something the other night, and it showed parts of China where there's 25 million people. Can you imagine that? Okay, over here in China, there's a place called Shanghai over here. That city is 25 million people. Okay, Los Angeles, I lived there for almost 20 years. That's about 11 million people. So you think Los Angeles is big? You think New York's big? You think Mexico City's big? Go to Shanghai, go to Beijing, go to some cities here in India. India's incredibly crowded. I was reading some stuff from my Life Nature book, and they were describing about how just a few thousand years ago, all this land over here that we call the Middle East, over here, when early civilizations like Egypt and Greece and Rome and Alexander the Great, they were pushing out over here. These were lush green meadows, rich lands, and now it's all burnt out in deserts a couple of thousand years later. Crazy stuff goes on, and people move around, and people have now expanded to the point where human beings cover every habitable piece of planet Earth. It didn't used to be that way. We have filled up the box. We have completely populated ourselves to the maximum, and we are still growing at about 1.2% per year. Okay, so it doesn't sound like much, but you take 1.2% of 7.5 billion, and you add that on every year and compound that. It's terrifying. And I go ranting on about these things, how we've kind of got to the point where, we're in this defined space and there's nowhere else to go. I mean, there's some very rich, crazy, fun people planning, to set up communities on Mars, and I don't know, it's too hot on Venus, and they think they're going to grow plants and set up communes and whatever. I mean, they're insane. These people are insane. Sure, we can send a projectile there, but can you imagine migrating 5 billion people over to Mars so we can give the rest of us a bit of room? No, it's not going to happen. So we have to figure out, what are we going to do? So the way I look at it, with all these retrogrades, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, they all appear as though they're going backwards in our sky right now, if you had a really good telescope. So if you look at Pluto, it goes like this: forward, oops, forward, oops, forward, oops, forward. And that's the same for all of these planets. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, they all appear to have these moments in time where they look like they're going backwards in the sky. And that is simply because we revolve around the sun like this, but we observe our solar system from here. So when we observe our solar system from here, we get these bizarre staggering effects that look like the planets have basically stalled out and gone backwards. They're not. They're still just zooming around, but we see it here because our perspective gets distorted as we go round and round. Anyway, I just wanted to rant about that. I'm going to check in and say hello to everyone. Give me a second over here, see if we're connected. Yeah, there we are. Greetings. It's Terra Lumination. It's Sunday night. It's the 12th of September on planet Earth, Pacific time. It's different times in other places. Thank you for being here. I'm sorry I couldn't make it last week. Incidents, things happen in life and you just have to take care of it. So I was not able to do my little show, but we're here. Thank you folks for arriving. I've got a booking already from Necessary Truth, so I'm going to create a magic post-it note for there. Let's see. Hold on. Give me a second. Did I do that already? No, I didn't. I'll come back to that. Don't worry. I'll get your post-it notes sorted out. So let me. I know hardly anybody comes anymore, but I still feel like I have to, announce and explain things. This is Terra Lumination. Been going over 4 years now, and we've had our glory days. The channel is still alive, but it doesn't really do anything much anymore except this, because it's impossible to grow the channel anymore. So we just make do with what we have, what we can. So I like to do the live streams. Now, if there's anyone out there watching, like the people that you see on the screen, they're logged in on their chat and they chat. We all know each other, but sometimes people show up because they're curious and they, what the hell is this? Sometimes they jump in. We had a new person a couple weeks ago, Jennifer Johnston, I think it was, and that went very well. So if you're new to this, you've never done tarot, you don't know anything about astrology, but you're kind of like intrigued, you can treat yourself. You can put a little donation in and you can buy a very expensive post-it note for about $10, and then lo and behold, you get a free reading. So that's the way I look at it. Maria, Jeffrey, hi. Oh, okay. Hold on. Super chats are coming in and donations are coming in. Thank you very much. It doesn't sound like much, but it's a big deal to me. I seriously, these Sunday shows are kind of an important part of my life, and I love doing them. I can only handle so much at a time, though. That's all I can do anymore. But anyway, thank you, Jeffrey. You're going to get your own post-it note. Looks like Maria's got one, and Necessary Truth has one. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and by the way, yeah, Jeffrey's got a point there. There's a bunch of readers here. Like Tina Miller. Good evening, Tina. Nikki is a psychic medium. And let's see. Where is that Nikki? Who's that Nikki? Oh yeah, Necessary Truth. And sometimes we get Robin's Realms. She's a reader and a healer. Sometimes we get Mona Berknes. She's a reader and healer up in Norway, and her husband is a remote energy healer, and so on. It's a quirky little collection of people we have here. Sometimes we get Lena from Argentina. Sometimes we have folks from over in Tripoli and Benghazi and South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, and so on. Sometimes we get a handful of Brits. Oh, sorry, Tina, let me go check. I'm going to go check the payments now. Hold on. Let me do that here. Let me go check in. I'll be right back. Give me a second, folks. Got to do some homework here. Today, okay, over here, I'm just doing all the homework back room. Okay, so I've got Tina. Yes, okay, Tina, I've got yours. I can see. Let's put that over here. This is Love Triper put this up the other day. You know, because I was ranting about how sick things are with humanity right now. Well, this is Love Triper's recommendation. All right, so we have a reading for Tina Miller. All right. And we have a reading for Jeffrey Longoria. And we also have a reading for Necessary Truth. There we go. Oops, I got a spare one here. Oh, goodness, excuse me, sorry. Sticky post-it notes. And then Maria. I've got to get Maria too. I saw one there from Maria. Okay. Got it. All right, I think I've got everybody now. It's probably all I'll be able to handle anyway. So, yeah. All right, let's, I'm just clickety-clicking my way through all of this, and Maria, okay. Also, greetings, yeah. Let's see. That's probably going to be it. That's probably all I'm going to be able to handle. I'll just tidy up these post-it notes. You know, once we get rolling, I kind of go off into a completely alternate universe when I do these readings. I mean, I'm still Terra Lumination, and I'm still coherent, but we're tapping into like the, let's say, the higher frequencies. That's one of the reasons I enjoy doing it, because it makes me feel like I'm doing something useful, and I get to practice something that I like to do. It's very satisfying. I like helping people. Yeah. All right, well, that's it. I don't think I can take any more readings than that tonight, so it's going to be, we'll just relax and enjoy. If there is anybody out there watching, just observe, and maybe next week, if you get some nerve, you can put in a donation. You can participate, hang out, and get your reading that way. Let me see here. I'm going to go back over to this part here. Yeah. So, part of me is tempted to rant on a little bit about the news, all these things going on. But what tends to happen is that the show gets shut down. What a mystery. So I'm at a point where, like, what's the point in me even talking about this stuff? Because you have to talk with code languages and special secret signs and abbreviations for the characters involved in the big stories and the themes involved in the big stories, and all of them are now very well established in the coding system of this platform that we use here, so that it can set off automatic restrictions. And I've got into trouble so many times, and there's channels that are much more, I would say, offensive or inappropriate, and they don't get flagged, but you know, I'm not the owner of the platform, so I don't really have much say in it. Anyway, we're still here. I have to say a few things. I can't not comment. Give me a second. Let me go back over here. All right. here's my take on it. I'm just going to give a very brief one and hope I don't get flagged or shut down. Alright. So, here we are, just another astrodoodle. These are all the signs. I'm doing this for planet Earth, where we always put the horizon up here for Aries. But this could apply to any one of you anyway, anyhow, because, well, I like to do solar charts, but most astrology these days is done with natal charts. And so this astrodoodle is an illustration of the planetary weather right now in our solar system, and this would sit on top of you and your own personal astrology profile in such a way that these planets and the sun and the moon have gravitational impact on your life. You don't sense it. You don't sit there going like, uh-oh, oh, well, the moon just did there. Whoa, damn, Pluto just did blah, blah, blah. It just happens at a very, very deep, profound level at the soul. But the way I look at it, it's similar to the way, birds navigate through the gravitational, compass, and animals have highly developed senses that we don't, okay? So here's what I'm noticing. Just get it out there. We've got Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, all retrograde. So I talked about that before over here. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto all appear as if they're going backwards on their orbit. They're not, but they appear to go that way. And what that does, it kind of jolts the magnetic influence inside of us as if we are being pulled backwards through whatever aspect this is and how it affects each one of us. Because these movements of the planets affect all of us, whether we like it or know it or not, or admit it. Even if we know it and we don't like it, we can deny it. But it's there nonetheless. So the question is, what do you do with it? Because if you want to, you can live your life on total autopilot. You can just give yourself over to, I would just call it like a reflex behavior, or your conditioning, or your natural impulses, and let life run through you, okay? Or you just run through life in a way that you feel is, that would be your life. But the reality is, it takes a lot of work to get a conscious hold and a conscious grasp of these energy fields so that we are not a victim. Like, you could be born with a very fortuitous chart full of green trines and sextiles all over the place. But if you don't know how to manage your energy, you can still end up as a train wreck. You can also be born with some extremely harsh angles, like hard oppositions or hard squares or something. And you can end up living a very productive, rewarding life, even though you might have been built with a very challenging, let's say, imprint. So, from what I can tell, the vast bulk of human behavior happens on autopilot. Basically, the desire for clean air, clean water, clean food, clean shelter, good company, productive activities, shelter, health care, fun, and good fortune in life. A lot of that can happen on our reflex systems. In other words, if something bad happens, we can react with violence. If something good happens, we can celebrate. Very, very simple, okay? If things get too cold somewhere and you want to migrate, do that. If things get too hot somewhere and you need to migrate, do that. Well, that's what humanity's been doing for, 150,000 years. But we're getting to a kind of a very strange tipping point that has never happened before in humanity. Like, for the 150,000 years, people were just migrating, playing around, being born, living, and died, very much in a kind of a natural way. Very little awareness of Uranus, Neptune, or Pluto. A very clear awareness of all the planets up to Saturn. But a lot of it was, I would say, done just like, well, we would be wild animals, and we create these beautiful territories and nests and habits and lifestyles and ways of feeding ourselves and all sorts of things. And we learn how to do it, and we integrate that learning into our internal DNA, and eventually we evolve and grow. And what I'm sensing is that we have evolved and grown very far in terms of the really far out energies, which I think is mostly to do with cerebral stuff from our neck upwards. And so that's really exciting. We have, massive advances in the last 150, 200 years that never happened before. The human population stabilized from about a couple million up to a couple of billion over about 150,000 years. And in the last 200 years, it has exploded exponentially. And that, I believe, is because we have exploded exponentially in terms of our consciousness. The problem is that our consciousness doesn't seem to be connected with, let's say, I would call the laws of the universe, because you can expand as much as you want. You can have the greatest ideas as you want and create everything that looks to be wonderful, but if it's actually built with a malicious intent, that is essentially evil, and then that evil manifests. And we've become experts. Hello, Heather. Oh, sorry, Heather. No, I couldn't make it last week. It was an emergency. I just couldn't even set up or anything. But thank you for visiting. I'm only going to do these 4 readings tonight. So if anybody wants to hang out for entertainment purposes, please do so. We're just going to work through these readings here. Excuse me. So we're now at this point where we have 7.5 billion people, and we're all interconnected with smartphones and internets, and there's massive disparities in terms of wealth and abundance and resources. And it's starting to become a problem. And the people who don't have much are starting to realize that there are people who have a lot, and it's so obscenely distorted that it doesn't seem fair. Now, the way they would solve that in the old days, there would be an uprising of peasants, or there would be an uprising or a revolution of the masses, of the population, and then they would go and attack, the emperor over here, or the emperor over here, and kill them and take them down and replace them with somebody else and do something else. But we've got a problem now, because if we have a problem with these folks over here, these folks have a problem with us over here. If we decide to nuke them, they can nuke us, and that basically kills off the whole planet. So it's a bit of a problem. We can't solve our problems the way we used to in the old days, through blood and guts and the glory of war and swords and sandals and slashing and blood and guns and knives and whatever. We're talking about nuclear warfare, but they're taking it to the next level where it's biological warfare. And that's the biggest bomb that has ever landed on Earth, was the big bomb that landed in January 2020. And the first pulse of the wave was felt around March 2020. And here we are, a year and a half later, and we're still dealing with the shock waves. I think of it as biological warfare. You can just think of it as you want, if it's just nature taking its course. Either way, it's a problem. Anyway, I'm going to go over here. We're going to start the readings now. I have to give my little rant. Oh, I haven't finished yet. Sorry. You see this? We've been building up to this for days. Over the last few weeks, things have become very violent in a lot of places, especially outside of America. And the violence is due to Mars in Virgo opposing Neptune in Pisces, where the Mars in Virgo energy is saying, you know what, enough is enough. We can't just discuss all the evil garbage that's going on and being propagated on Earth right now by a handful of really nasty people. We need to do something about this. And so they are protesting and rallying to protect their freedoms and their rights. I understand it. And it's been building up, and now we have the Sun in Virgo, dead opposite Neptune in Pisces. And the way I look at it, it's like this massive flashlight is pointing directly at the source of the EVIL. And, you know, Neptune energy is beautiful when it's working, but it's very ugly and tragic when it's not working. It's the energy of disease, sickness, hidden diseases, alcoholism, drug abuse, sex abuse, verbal abuse, death, like death by mold and fungus and decay, viruses and bacteria, and general disease, insanity, all of that. And that happens because ultimately, you know, things grow, evolve, they reach their peak, and then they devolve, and eventually they decay and die. And that's all perfectly natural in nature. But some of this is man-made. This is actually made by human beings. And that's what's so ugly and terrifying about what's happening here today, is that the ugliness that's happening on planet Earth between humanity and humanity, it's made by humanity. And they're trying to pretend as though, it's a bug. But what's happened is the Sun is basically saying, I'm sorry, there's nowhere to hide. There's enough people on planet Earth now who are starting to realize that this whole so-called, you know, bug is actually a bioweapon. Okay, I got to shut up now because I'll get shut down. But also, can you see here how the truth police are very active? Here's the north-south node, north node. It's a very, very strong opposition. The moon is on the south node. Look at that. And over here, Saturn is trining the moon and trining the north node. So this is a very, very loud message that the truth is not only needing to be exposed, the truth is being exposed. And the more and more exposed this truth becomes, the more and more the perpetrators of the evil are scrambling to cover up their evil and create the storyline that everything is just a big bug and we have to take over and control your lives so that you don't suffer from this bug. And they have a reason for doing that, but I'm not going to go into it on this show anymore, okay? Anyway, the way I look at it, everything is exactly as it should be. All right, I'm just going to put this aside. Let's put this aside. I'm going to put the ephemeris aside. And we're going to get on with things. Okay. Thank you for listening to me. Remember, this is what Love Triber said. Okay? Look at that. Beautiful, isn't it? We, the people, are the cure. Thank you, Love Triber. All right. I need a little beverage. It's thirsty work, you know. Okay, let's have a look. Yeah. See, the thing is, notifications do not go out on this channel anymore. And so it's, what can you do? You don't have a channel if nobody knows you're there. So we do what we can. All right, Tina, thank you very, very much. Tina, if you have a particular theme that you would like to, deal with, we've worked together plenty of times before. You know the routines, luckily. If you want to, like, what are the messages we have for Tina Miller tonight through Tarot Lumination regarding the subject of ... If you have something like that and you want to put a word or two on the screen in the chat, that'll help, or not. It's up to you. I'm perfectly okay to go blind, okay? Same message goes for you, Jeffrey, and Necessary Truth, and Maria. So if you think about it, if you want to deal with a particular subject, we can do that. Right now, I'm just going to plunge into it. So, first of all, you know what? Cheers, everybody. Thank you for being so supportive and friendly and loving people these last few years. I've got some ideas I have to tell you. Hold on. Let me go over here. I have some ideas I'm working on right now, but it would require having a whole new channel, perhaps not on YouTube, and a whole new, let's say, business model. And I'm thinking ahead 3, 5 to 7 years, okay? That's kind of my time frame. I don't know how it's going to pan out, but I'll keep you guys posted. It's quite different from what I'm doing here, but it is an extension of what we started all those years ago. All right, so Tina's got her notes up on the screen already. That was quick. Thank you, Tina. In a way, it's funny. It's interesting, because you guys are used to this. You're used to the public platform. You've shared your situations, very intimate situations and details in a public forum. But not everybody's comfortable, getting a live reading in public. It's a bit scary. It says here, so you got a location issue. Tina's typed in, TL, big question. In simplified terms, where do I need to be? Where are my people? Okay. Where things will just work. Wow. That's very interesting, Tina, because that's kind of the core theme of what I'm working on right now. It's not something I can just do like that by starting a YouTube channel. But it is something that I can do, I believe, in about 3 to 5 years. Hopefully we're all still around and still buddies. We'll see what happens, okay? All right, let's leave it like that. Okay, let's go over here. All right. Alrighty. Cards are already well shuffled. I just like to go to the last second. Oh, that's sad, Tina. Can you remember whatever it was 2 years ago when all this stuff was building up and there was a lot of upheaval in your family and all these activities that were going on, some very turbulent, painful periods, and then you did this big migration, and everything is done with good intent, and you've got Ava now, the beautiful SAR, search and rescue dog. But, from what I can recall, the tiny bits and memories that I have, because truly, people, I do not remember readings. I can remember feelings and connections, but I don't remember hardly any details of any readings, and I don't store them or anything, okay? But I do know that you went with a great deal of enthusiasm to your current location, and then to have, the disturbances that you've been having, it makes it feel like, what was I thinking? Or like, how could it, it doesn't make any sense. Honestly, Tina, location is so, so important. It really, really is. Actually, you know what, Tina, I actually like doing homework on locations. So I would be happy to work with you. It's probably something you would have to do in private. And I've got a few ideas. But for now, let's get a snapshot. Let's get an overview. Seriously, Tina, I've got some ideas. What I'm thinking of is after the show, I'm going to connect with you by email, or you can connect with me by email, and I have an idea for you, and it would be kind of on the house. Okay. All right, let's go. Let's have a look. Let's see what's going on. As a preface, okay? Yeah, we'll deal with that, Tina. I get it. I know what you're saying. Oh, that was yummy. All right. Bless this deck. Okay? The whole freaking deck. The artist, the creativity, every single card in the deck. The lighting, the microphones, the technology, the software, all the coding, all the gadgets, the computers, microphones, I think I said that, all the internet and the cables and the platform itself, of course. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's an amazing thing. You know, none of this stuff existed 20 years ago. Even Google was barely alive at that time. It's mind-boggling what's happened in the last 20 years. All right, here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle it. And let's have a look at, I would call it environmental influences. We're going to look at the planets because they're always tied to our situation. Our situation is always connected to the planets somehow. Okay, here we go. So you've got the Knight of Swords. Okay, so the way I see this, Tina, is this is an emergency. Okay, this is something you can't put off. This is something that is coming into like simple clarity, truth, communications. Very simple, open communication. Just look at your note on the chat. My health is just going downhill here. That's all you needed to say. You don't have to, we don't have to, go into extreme elaboration or anything. And your wealth, your happiness, your abundance, your ability to enjoy life is all contingent upon your health. So the way I look at it with the Knight of Swords, this is a glaring, loud calling out of the truth. It has to be declared. And the thing is, it's probably very painful to declare this, to write what you just wrote on the screen, because you put so much time and resources and energy into establishing yourself in your new world. And you get there and you land, and you've only been there a short while as far as I can recall. If you want to share anything on the screen with people, but sure. And then it's like you went into another pool of challenges which could not have been predicted, but you did your best, and now you're at the point where you might as well say, okay, it doesn't matter what my original plan. It's like you're not even trying to force an original agenda. You're not trying to lie your way through and pretend everything is okay when it isn't, because you made such a big investment, such big decisions, such life-changing decisions for yourself that also impacted your loved ones. No, you're at the point where it's like, you know what? Screw this. Screw this. I got to get out of here. Okay? That is the truth. It's being lit up very, very brightly. It's a very bright alert. I'm not saying run. I'm saying it's time to admit it. Like, oh God, I got to do something. So you've only been there a year. Wow. All right, let's have a look. Here's the situation itself. Okay. When I see the King of Cups here, what that's telling me is that you have done an incredibly noble job of maintaining your own personal integrity, your honor, your, let's say, core essence of being loving when you are surrounded by so much turbulence that it would be so easy to have crashed out or given up or completely lost it. You could have easily turned into rage or blame or shame or projecting and taking all the negative energies that you've had to deal with, and you could have just pushed those out and back onto society and your loved ones in your world rather than deal with it. But you've taken it in a very noble way that represents mastery. This is a card of absolute mastery of that part of yourself, which could be represented as like love or the heart or the soul self, okay? So that's great. That's wonderful. But even with this much energy, even with this degree of mastery, there comes a point where, look, okay, right there on the screen, you can see it. I knew it. I can't even breathe here. You can't breathe here. I'm sorry, Tina, but look at it this way. And this is serious, okay? I think Love Triber was talking about this the other night, or one of the shows I was watching along with her. And it was like, it was one of these economy and finance shows, and we were talking about resources and things, and what is it that really counts, okay? Everybody wants money. Everybody needs money. Money is this, like a universal toolkit for getting things done. In the old days, if you wanted to, get some timber, you had to go out into a forest and either break some branches or whatever and start to rip it to pieces with your hands. And then they came up with tools and so on. Nowadays, if you want a piece of timber, you go to like a huge hardware store and it's already good, ready to go. But today, excuse me, I just completely lost it there. How on earth did I start talking about? All right, so with the King of Cups, okay, so you've got this big heart soul energy. What are you going to do with that? But there comes a breaking point. Everything has a breaking point. The solar system, our solar system has a breaking point. At some point in a few billion years, our solar system will devolve, okay? So, the thing, I remember it now, the thing that was coming up on this expose regarding finances, it's a really great place to go. His name is Mark Moss. He has a fantastic YouTube channel. He's so far ahead. Anyway, he was reducing it like, what do human beings need? You need basic resources. Number one is air. Number one, clean air. Breathable air. Okay? You can last about, 3, 5, 7 minutes without air. Next, you need water. You can go for whatever it is, 2 weeks without water before you die. You can go for like a month or 2 months without food, so long as you got the air and the water. But eventually you die, so you have to, these are absolute essentials. You have to have air that is breathable. All right, so, Gina, if you're in a situation, maybe it works like you're over there with all that humidity, all right? And that might work for a whole bunch of people, but if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. If you can't breathe, you can't breathe. Your body isn't built for that environment. For example, look at the Scottish people or the Norwegians, the Norwegians who live far, far north. They're used to Arctic and subarctic temperatures. A really beautiful summer for them is about 75 or 80 degrees. And they have summer days that last for 18 hours, 20 hours. If you go far enough up in Scotland, the sun doesn't actually set. And it's absolutely beautiful. But the downside is that when it comes to winter, you have about, whatever it is, 18, 19 hours of darkness. So it's the same thing with humidity, and the same thing with temperature. Over here in Las Vegas, about 6 weeks ago, it was 121 degrees. Figure that. People were dying. I saw people falling on the street. Okay? And, you know, it's the hottest year on record for the whole of planet Earth, according to all the weather stats that I look at. So stuff is happening, stuff is changing. The hotter it gets, the more you are towards water, the more humid it's going to get. So you might be, Tina, in a place where the humidity levels are so high that you can't breathe anymore. So that's very simple, it's very physical. We'd have to start looking for places that are drier, perhaps cooler. Okay, we can do that, okay? I love doing this stuff, Tina, by the way. If you're okay if you stay inside, like, okay, I'm over here. This is Las Vegas. Outside, it's already, the sun is already going down. It's 105 degrees. Figure that out. When I was out in the sun today, it was 107. The air here is extremely dry. It's absolutely bone dry. You can walk outside, boil up, get really, really hot, and there's no sweat on you anywhere, because it disappears before it even feels like sweat. On the other hand, I used to live in a lot of hot places that had a lot of humidity, and it could be 85 or 90 degrees and you're dripping, soaking in sweat. The human body can only take so much. There is a lot more and more climate migration that's going to start happening over the next few hundred years, but it's starting right now. Okay. Over here, there's air conditioning. That takes out even more moisture. But at least it's comfortable. In fact, it's very nice. Thank you. All right, let me go back over here. Okay, Tina, so frankly, you're doing the best you can. You're doing the best you possibly can because you're already at the level of mastery with the situation. But it doesn't matter how loving you are. If you can't breathe, you can't function. Your biological, physiological self, you can't function. So it's like it's futile. You can be as loving as you want. You get all the best of intentions, but it doesn't mean anything. Jeffrey's saying it was 70 all day in Ohio. 70! Frankly, Jeffrey, if it turned down to 70 degrees here right now, I would feel like I'm freezing. All right, let's have a look. What are the problems? Okay, well, let's pray. Okay, so we have another very powerful message is that the Queen of Swords, it's in some ways, some people could see it as the energy of divorce, the energy of separation, the energy of accepting only that which is true, and vividly, if necessarily, violently rejecting anything that is not true. And so the way I look at this, with the Queen of Swords here, it feels to me like this is such a blunt and I shouldn't use the word blunt because it's actually very sharp. The message is very, very sharp and very, very clear, but it's also very painful because to me it feels like to admit that after only being there for a year, it's completely unviable anymore. It's kind of a shock to the system, no matter your best of intentions, okay? You put a lot of life and love and energy into your world, and yet here you are. You know you have to go. There's no question about it. It's at the point of almost being an emergency. But the idea of actually executing and exiting the actual exit strategy is terrifying because it's just like, oh my God, I just spent all this time and money and energy and love to get settled here, and now I have to go. That's insane. It's like people who get married in Las Vegas and then a month later they realize we need to get divorced. Okay? So it does happen. And I think it's a real blessing, Tina, honestly, that you're kind of admitting this in a public arena. It's almost like it makes it much easier. You can just spill it out, you know. Oh, yay, I've had it. I can't take it anymore. I can't breathe. Humidity is too extreme. That's it. Gotta go. All right, so how are we going to deal with this? Let's have a look. Okay. Very, very careful evaluations. Okay? We've got the Two of Pentacles here. It's an indication that you're going to have to take into account a lot of factors. Number one, obviously, finances. Number two, climate conditions. Are you going to live near the ocean? Are you going to live inland? Are you going to live in a colder climate? A hotter climate? There's so many different ways to go. Let's have a look. Look, here's some very, very simple relocation astrology. You can put a line roughly here. Okay? Here's the Mississippi. Okay? And here's the Ohio. There is a line that goes across here. It happens to coincide almost exactly with the Ohio River and the Mississippi River. And then there's the Missouri River over here. But it essentially divides the United States into two different climates. Over here, this is the Bible Belt, okay? It coincides with this part of the climate. I'm not going to talk about why the Bible Belt is so correlated to this climatic region here. But this is a very specific climatic region. It tends to get very hot and very humid up into the 90s or maybe 100 with extreme humidity. But it's very luscious, very rich land. And you have to put up with hurricanes and storms. Every year, guaranteed, there's going to be hurricanes coming over here. Massive flooding, blah, every year. And you get this section here. This is Tornado Alley. Tornado Alley exists because of all this colder, drier weather coming from over here, meeting this hot, wet weather from over here. It triggers tornadoes. Every single year. Tornado Alley. Up here is the Northeast. It tends to get very cold and stormy in the winter. Over here is the Midwest and the lakes. The lakes act as a very temperate kind of soothing effect on the areas that are very close to the lakes. Go over this way, things start to dry out. Up in this area here, it gets extremely cold and goes down to 120, whatever it is, 20, 30 below. And the air can get very, very, very dry. And you have to have good heating, good insulation in your house, and so on. But it can also get sunny and hot in the summer. You keep going over here, you're in the high desert. Here's Las Vegas, here's Phoenix. Okay, Phoenix, Arizona, and Las Vegas are the hottest cities in America. Las Vegas is right next to Death Valley. Death Valley is right here. Death Valley went up to, 140 this summer? It's terrifying. They don't even get that over here. They don't get those temperatures over here or over here. In Tehran, it might have been 80 or 90. It's insane. I'm not kidding. This country is a country of extremes. The energy of Pluto, which represents extremes, is very, very powerful in the nature of this country. So each of these segments has very different climates, and those climates have a very different impact on your health. We can go into much greater detail, Tina. I would love to help you out. I love doing that stuff. Hello, Karen, down there in New Zealand, sunny New Zealand. Sorry, Tina, got a shout out to Karen. Karen is over there. Okay, there's New Zealand, okay? There's New Zealand, and Karen is right there at the tip of my blue pen. Look at that. I mean, you can see New Zealand is so far away from everywhere else. Look at this. From New Zealand to Australia, that's almost 2,000 miles. You know, it doesn't look like much on this map. It's just me twiddling my pen, but that's 5 hours in a jet plane, okay? No joke. Some of you know that I have been to New Zealand. I love it there. All right, so to wrap this up, okay, Tina, we've got the Two of Pentacles. So this is not something, it isn't, the way I look at it, this is an emergency. To me, it's shocking that you have to realize, I have to get out of here. But you can't bury this. You're not allowed to bury it. You will just damage yourself. And so you end up in a situation where you have to do some very delicate calculations and balancing acts and research and homework. Figure this out, figure that out. Weigh up, like start cherry picking locations, and you figure out the pros and you figure out the cons. It could be anything. Temperature, humidity, housing prices, job opportunities, language, culture, politics, blah, 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 blah. All of that. So you're heading very rapidly into a time of reevaluation. And luckily for you, all these retrogrades are working in your favor, because this is the perfect situation for retrogrades. It's time to reevaluate, restructure, replan, redefine, reprioritize everything from the ground up. So, you know, as painful as it might be to have admitted this openly in public, that you can't do what you're doing anymore, you have to go, this is actually the best thing you could have done for yourself. Just basically admit it. Gotta go, gotta get out of here. But you can't just like go out in a panic. You literally have to do some homework, and I'll be very happy to help you. Okay? Thank you very much, Tina. Wow, that was I like readings where we completely, absolutely nail it. All right, Jeffrey, you're up next. So you are now established in Ohio. My gosh, Jeffrey, I have connections over in Ohio. Not really live much anymore because, you know, we're talking 20 years ago. But as a little kid, I lived in Akron. As an adult, I lived in Cincinnati. And in between that, I lived in many other places over in Europe. And then came back to America to live in. Anyway, so I have a big soft spot for Ohio. Here's little Ohio. There we go. There's Ohio. One of the Great Lakes states. This is where they have a lot of political turbulence because everything is kind of half and half. Purple states, you know. Conservatives, liberals, all of that stuff. There's little Cincinnati, look. There's Cincinnati, Columbus, the capital. There's little Akron. And there's Cleveland. I sometimes used to go to Cleveland. I knew people from Toledo. I've been all over Ohio. I've been all over this area here. And more. All right, Jeffrey, let's shuffle it up. Okay, I'm going to put on some music while I do this. Everybody chat amongst yourselves. I got to shuffle things, okay? I really, really do. Let's have a look. How am I going to do this? Doopy-doo, doopy-doo. Oh, okay, okay. was my pleasure, Tina. My pleasure. Hello, Karen. What's it, lunchtime over there or something right now? 1 o'clock in the afternoon over there on your Monday. It's already Monday for everybody in New Zealand. Yeah, okay. Oh, gosh. I see your notes there, Jeffrey. Hold on. Give me a second before we actually go to your reading. I want to check in with you. Goodness. Hi, Jeffrey, over there in Ohio. So, it feels kind of like awkward to me because, as some of you know, some of you don't know, Jeffrey is very dynamic as a young fellow who's got a natural business acumen, and he follows through. He does what he says he's going to do, and he delivers. Okay, he has a natural, astute kind of. Everyone's born different. I was born kind of psychic kind of thing. I have huge water aspects. Jeffrey has very strong, like, business earthy aspects, but he also has this heart center, and when you can align the two, that's kind of a good thing. It's not easy. Some people are extremely gifted at, let's say, whatever it is, science or math or genetics or biology or chemistry or something like that, but there's no integration with the soul, and they can get swept along in these, let's say, very unhealthy pathways. For example, my sister, she's like super brainiac. Same with my brother, super brainiac. They could just fall asleep and take a nap and they would get triple A's and everything. Anyway, my sister ended up being a veterinarian doctor with a lot of letters after her name because she's very, very good at academics. And so she went high up really quickly in the world of veterinary science on the corporate side. And then she started to wake up when she was young, like, my God, this is freaking evil. The stuff that goes on here, because all they care about is money. Like, the animals are like incidental, but it's all about the drugs and the money. And so she got very depressed. She gave up. She left the big city. She left the corporate world, and she turned herself into a traditional vet. Caring for dogs and cats and birds and cows and pigs and chickens and ducks and sheep. And she was much happier. Mr. Ross, good evening. So anyway, my sister, I'm trying to do a comparison with Jeffrey. My sister is very, very compassionate, okay? But she's also really smart. And she finally figured out how to do something with that. So Jeffrey has a bit of that in him, because some of you know Jeffrey's been here before plenty of times, and Jeffrey is a businessman, and he has goals and ambitions, but he also has a heart. Like, how do you synchronize the two? Anyway, you're missing your friends and family. You've got a bit of a writer's block when it comes to the business plan. Still looking for a property, sort of. Okay, Mike, here's my quick, easy get out of the situation explanation. All the retrogrades right now, okay, so you know what it's like. Everybody felt that early this year. There was a chapter early this year. I think it was up till about May or whenever. I can't remember, but the details. But all the planets, everything was moving ahead direct. Everything was on a surge. The stock market was on a surge. Cryptocurrencies were on a massive surge. And then the planets started to turn retrograde. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, one by one, and then everything kind of went. So my feeling is that what you're dealing with, Jeffrey, is what often happens during retrograde cycles, where you're living your life the best that you can as a conscious being. You wouldn't be here on this channel if you weren't at a certain level of consciousness where you allowed for the heart and soul to be fully integrated into your life. But when there's a disparity and you start to think like, oh my God, things just, like, I did all the right things in terms of business and planning and blah, 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 but if you're stagnant, Okay, so what the thing that you're describing there in the chat, Jeffrey, it can feel like bad things are happening, because when you're on a roll, when all the planets are retrograde, when all the planets are direct, everybody and everything feels like it's on a roll. And then when things start to turn retrograde, it's kind of like, oh, wait a minute, I have to fix this. Oh, wait a minute, I have to fix that. Oh, wait a minute. Oh. When you have Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto all retrograde simultaneously, that's like having a massive, like traffic roadblock buildup, and you're even like 2 or 3, 5 miles away. You're already seeing all the orange cones, and you're starting to feel that traffic is slowing down, and then people get pissed off and like, well, wait a minute, nobody told me about this, but stuff happens. And so when you get this amount of retrograde, that's 5 outer planets retrograde, that can feel very, very heavy. And you can translate that into feelings. Literally, I'm feeling like, oh my God. And the feelings come up to the surface, everything that's not working, things that are not working. You're listing it, missing your friends and family, writer's block when it comes to business plan, still looking for properties. Okay. What I would like to offer, Jeffrey, is that what you just described is perfectly aligned with the retrogrades. In other words, everything is exactly as it should be. And why is that so? It's because it can't be any other way. Things are the way they are. It's just physics. It's just the law of the physics. If you stick your finger in a light bulb socket, you're going to get electrocuted when it's switched on. That's it. I can guarantee tomorrow that the sun will come up at an exact moment in time. Fact. Okay? But the things that you're dealing with are in here. And all of the things that you're feeling in here are to do with making decisions, most likely based during a time where everything is direct and you feel as though everything's going in a certain direction. And then when you come to the retrogrades, you start to question everything at the deepest levels, especially when you're going to Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. At that level, it's very, very hard to even put any language to your feelings. I don't know, I just feel like, I don't know what it is. I'm like spacing out. I'm having weird dreams. I'm feeling foggy. I'm lost, okay? It's really, really hard to put clear, concise language to what you are feeling, not what you're thinking. Thinking is completely different. That's like a calculator. This is the soul energy. Ultimately, your calculator can do whatever it wants and try to get the soul to do what it wants. But ultimately, you're the one who has to live with this inside here. And if things are not feeling right, if it's out of whack, seriously, Jeffrey, you have an excuse. Blame it on the planets. It's beautiful. I do it all the time. I blame it on the planets. And I realize, oh, of course, I can blame it on the planets. But I don't stop there. What I actually do is I do my own homework, and I investigate, and I discover, and I go deep diving, trying to learn, like, how and why can I blame it on the planets? I can blame it on the planets because I've never had this particular experience before. I am evolving just like you are evolving, okay, Jeffrey? And so I have my own issues regarding these 5 planets retrograde, and I'm doing the best I can to deal with it. You are having your own unique version of what it feels like to you to deal with these 5 planets retrograde. And the thing is that they go very, very, very deep. Now, I've been doing this astrology stuff for a long time in my own way, and so I knew this was coming. And so at least I have I can deal with it. It doesn't necessarily mean it's easy or fun, but I have an awareness. But if you don't have the awareness, then it can really catch you off guard. You might feel like, oh my God, what the hell am I thinking? But you're not alone, okay, Jeffrey? There's billions of people on Earth today who are struggling with these 5 retrogrades, okay? I guarantee it, okay? So it's perfectly normal and healthy for you to have written what you wrote on the screen, okay? So, it's beautiful. In other words, it's almost like, take a breath. It's okay, Jeffrey, take a breath. You can blame it on the planets. You just didn't know the degree and the intensity of what these retrogrades would do. You don't even have to talk about astrology or planets to your friends or family. We can talk about it here, but deep inside, I know that you're aware of this stuff. Your body is tuned in at very high frequencies, so you can't help it. You simply can't help it. You are, let's say, a sentient being, high sensory perception. You have that in you, whether you like it or not. It's there. Otherwise, you wouldn't be on the channel. You wouldn't be writing or describing the things that you're describing. Most people can't handle it, and so they just project and shame and blame. But that's not you. All right, let's go back. Sorry, I haven't even started reading yet. I thought we were halfway through. Hey, I just saw your note there, Jeffrey. Just for peace of mind, I want you to know that I've had a lot of therapy. I've been heavily medicated for long periods of time to deal with a lot of psychic, spiritual, emotional, psychological issues. And I'm here today to tell you that I've got through all of it. And I went in every and all direction possible with therapists, counselors, psychologists, whatever, to try and figure it all out. But personally, for myself, my most powerful tool is the astrology and the tarot, because it helps me to deal with it in a way that you cannot possibly deal with in traditional medicine or healing. Cards are very well shuffled, but I'm going to go just a little bit more so that it's all happening live right now in real time. God bless these little cards. Okay. So we're going to do a little, this is just going to be a kind of wild, wide open, fuzzy diagnostics. Okay? Here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle it. Let's have a look at the environmental influences. Of course, I'm going to default to the planets. Oh gosh, it's all upside down. All right. So, okay, I've got the 8 of Cups here. I think the imagery does a lot of the talking already. So if you can picture yourself there, Jeffrey, you've lived and loved, okay? You have been loving, you have been loved. You've put a lot of time and love and energy into your life so far, especially with the people close to your heart, okay? I mean, sure, you're a businessman, but I can just tell from your notes that the things that are really challenging you are to do with matters of the heart. You know, separation from friends and family. You know, doesn't matter how successful you are at business or how much money you have, if your heart is empty and pained and sorrowful, and yet you have to go on. I see this. Please, Jeffrey, do not see this as tragic or bad. Please see this as neutral. Please, I'm hoping you can see this as just part of the journey. You're just living through a chapter. It's a chapter where you are realizing, like, wow, I miss my friends and family a lot. And I have a writer's block when it comes to business. And I'm still looking for a property. Now, you came into this situation in Ohio with all the best of intentions. You came at it like a businessman. Okay? Dealing with it in very, very practical, realistic terms. And yet here we are, deep in the heart of it, thinking like, I'm not going to address this as doom and gloom. It's not like, oh my God, what have I done? It's not that at all. It's like, wow. It's more of a neutral energy where you can take a pause, you can look at your life and realize that you've lived so much already, and yet there is so much more to live in front of you. So much more that it's inconceivable. Like these territories over here, these are just the territories that you can see right now, okay? But behind these territories, there's a whole other life, okay? So you're living the journey, and it's perfectly okay to feel this way, okay? So I'm just going to share something. Jeffrey, I have lived what turns out to be a very nomadic life. I'm in Las Vegas now. I don't know what's going to happen next. I have all sorts of things brewing, going. Parts of Las Vegas are wonderful, but I've moved about roughly 30 to 33 times in my life. Different residences, countries, cities, towns. That's a lot. Most of my family, most of my friends were born and raised and lived and died within about 100 or 200 miles of where they were born. And that's just it. I'm not one of those people. Not only did I have a very physically nomadic life, I had a very nomadic life in terms of experiences, like with, you could call it work or careers or jobs or activities in order to stay alive. And so it's very easy for me to look at the Eight of Cups and go, that's okay, Jeffrey. It's just a chapter. Just imagine you're on a life journey and it's just like, wow, yeah, you get to these points like you create an adventure for yourself. You create a journey. You live life in its essence. You move with the flow of life. And then with the retrogrades, you pause and you look back and you realize like, wow, what have I done? Who am I really? Where have I come from? Where am I going? What is my purpose? What is the meaning of all of this? But you keep walking. You see what I mean? You keep going anyway. Get it? All right. So I'm glad. I know you understand. Okay, you just said I've moved 3 times in 3 years. Okay? Well, Jeffrey, you might have a bit of the nomad inside you yourself. Who knows? There's a long way to go. A long journey still ahead, okay? Here we go. Here's the situation. Of course, all the cards are upside down. Sorry. I don't do reversals. Okay, with the 3 of Pentacles here, my feeling is it's like there's some kind of really deep yearning that you want to be with your own tribe, your own family, your own people in such a way that you are very aware about how much you contribute to the community, and simultaneously the community is very aware of how much you contribute to them. See, with the Three of Pentacles, the artisan cannot complete their work without the influence of the architects. And the architects cannot complete their work without the access to the artisans. They work together. Okay? So it feels to me as though right now is that what your heart really wants is what your heart already knows works. It's that feeling of family and bonding and sense of community and essence where you are loving and you are loved. And you feel it in your physical body. You actually feel it. At the end of the day, you realize, wow, I did a loving thing and I was loved in return. Now, what does that look like? In your case, it might be business. You might be good at helping other people succeed in their business, and in so doing, they are so grateful for you, to you, that they help you succeed in your business. Okay? It's also an indication of teamwork here. So, if, like the energy of teamwork, to me it looks like it's really important to you, Jeffrey, like it's actually part of your business model. It's on the understanding that, I'm Jeffrey, I might have all these skills and abilities and ambitions and certain degrees of resources and competence. That's fine, but it doesn't really work unless I'm with the right people at the right time, at the right place for the right reasons. Does that make sense? All right. So this is, to me, this is like an important aspect to understand about your situation, in that community and people and being with the right people in the right place at the right time for the right reasons is actually very important to you. So again, sort of like with Tina earlier in her reading, location is very important. Like if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong people for the wrong reasons, you're going to get the wrong outcomes. But the thing is, you won't know until you actually take the steps and make these journeys, okay? So that's part of life, you know. You take risks. Because it doesn't matter how psychic you are, it doesn't now matter how much astrology or tarot you might get, you still don't know exactly in detail what's going to happen tomorrow. What are the challenges here? Okay, so with the Judgment card, my feeling is that you're looking at your life from two sides. I mean, I know that's not normal for this card, but the side where, like, who am I? I'm Jeffrey Longoria. I moved to Ohio. I had this idea that this and this and this and this was going to happen in this place for these reasons, with these kinds of people, for this kind of projected outcomes. Okay, fine. And you already know that it's not going to work unless you are with the right people at the right time at the right place for the right reasons. So you know that already. And so there's this feeling here with the Judgment card, like there's a strong energy of freedom. I need my freedom. I want my freedom. I want to be released from the grip of, how can I say this? The grip of projected expectations. Okay? So let's say you made these big moves to Ohio, and it all made sense before all this big wall of retrogrades. And now here you are questioning yourself. and there's a massive wall of retrogrades. 5: Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Okay? So it's perfectly natural. In fact, it's very appropriate that you would question yourself. And so when I see this, the Judgment card, to me it feels like, have I cursed myself to being locked into a prison? Or have I released myself? If I have released myself, what does this really mean? What have I released myself into? I don't know. If I have imprisoned myself and I am craving liberation and freedom, what does that look like? Have I actually kind of imprisoned myself through projection, through expectation, and then realizing, oh my God, what was I thinking? I want to be released from this. Now remember, this represents fear, okay? False evidence appearing real. So fear is very, very important. Fear is what keeps you alive, okay? It's very, very important that you understand the energy of fear, so that it's designed to make you either stop or give up or run away or fight or hide in order to survive. Okay, fear is incredibly important. And if you have some kind of like spontaneous fear that, oh my God, what have I done? Instead of releasing myself and finding freedom and advancing in my life and my world by doing this big move to Ohio, have I actually made things worse? Okay. Jeffrey just noted here on the screen, I mean, I'm not going to turn back. I hated my old job. Good. Okay. So the energy of freedom here is extremely important. It's very, very important to acknowledge in yourself that what really, really counts for you is your liberty, your freedom, your God-given right to be Jeffrey Longoria as the Jeffrey Longoria that you know you are deep down inside, as opposed to the Jeffrey Longoria that you sometimes have to, act in order to have a job, in order to have an income. It's like you hated your old job. Chances are you had to do a bit of acting to survive in your old job in order to prevail and succeed and get along. But if you hated it, it's understandable. Okay, a lot of people hate their jobs because it feels like imprisonment or some kind of, trap or contract where you end up becoming a servant or a slave to a system. So the Judgment energy is very, very strong here. It feels to me like you're absolutely terrified of being trapped into something or a situation or a plan or a scenario that doesn't work for you. It's like this is not allowed to happen anymore. I already know what it's like to hate my job and to have to move and change states across country because I hate my job so much. So that's a very telling story here with the Judgment card. It's very important to acknowledge that your sense of personal freedom, your sense of needing to live your own life, the life of your sovereign self, is incredibly important to you. And you're already doing the best that you can to do that. I'm just going to bring up a note here. I didn't put it in the charts, but Mercury is in Libra over here, sort of opposite Chiron in Aries. Chiron in Aries represents the deep wound to the self where we lost ourselves, we were damaged, we ended up being brutalized or lost in war. We gave away our sovereign self in order to just have another day alive, to live, breathe, eat, or whatever. And the Mercury in Libra is here to clarify that understanding. It's like, the way I see it is, what's happening right now is we're bringing a lot of clarity into understanding your situation, like at the level of your soul, your heart, your spirit. Like, okay, it's one thing to operate as a businessman, but what's the point in being a successful businessman person if it's, if you hate the job, if you're with the wrong people in the wrong place at the wrong time. So the judgment energy is really, really, I guess it's like important for you. It's so important that it's like written as law. I, Jeffrey Longoria, I am not allowed. In fact, I refuse to live and operate in a function in a situation which is unhealthy for me, where I am not allowed to live the life of my sovereign self. The reason I said sovereign self, because this Chiron and Aries relates directly to the sovereign self. And as you can tell, with Chiron and Aries right here moving very, very slowly, the energy of sovereign selfhood is extremely prominent on planet Earth right now. Billions of people are starting to realize, my God, I'm living my life on autopilot just to please these employers or these societies or these politicians or these cultures. But my real self is something completely different. So what this energy here is saying is that your real true self is what you already know. And you're at a point where you are no longer willing to live in a situation or a lifestyle or a place where you cannot be your true sovereign self at the deepest part of your nature. Okay? How are we going to deal with this? This is actually kind of a really, to me, I'm trying to, these channels on this platform, they're entertainment, okay? But this is actually, feels to me like a very heavy kind of serious reading. And I'm trying to convey it in a lighthearted way, but it actually feels very heavy, quite serious to me. How are we going to deal with this? Okay, so we've got the High Priestess energy over here, okay? To me, it feels that you're going to really have to kind of go above and beyond whatever you're used to in how you conduct your life, to the point where you're going to have to, I would say, surrender to the mystery of life. Okay? There is no solution right now. I know you don't want to hear that. The whole idea of a tarot reading is to get a solution, to get some clarity, to get some light to go forward. But when I see the High Priestess here, what this is telling me is that, dear Jeffrey, you're going to have to understand and live with the reality that there is no solution at this point. Any efforts or any attempts to find resolution or concrete decisions that will help you lessen the discomfort, the pain of everything that we've talked about here, it's not going to work. So your only solution is to go through. The only way out is through. Okay? The only way out of your situation is to live through it. And to live through it, it means living through the mystery. So that means to me living through the mystery of that which is hidden, which is this energy here. Okay, the Piscean energy here. I feel that this reading is all about shining a very bright light onto this Piscean energy here at the global level. But the way this impacts you at the personal level is that we're dealing with the unknown. We're dealing with things that are hidden. It doesn't matter how many tarot readings or astrology readings you get, you won't figure this out. So the only thing you can do is to, and this is going to sound like a cliche, but learn for the time being, at least while these big 5 retrogrades are happening. Remember, this is not going to go on forever. Eventually, the retrogrades will all fade away and disappear, and energy will shift and move on, and things will pick up some momentum, okay? It's like being stuck in a massive traffic jam on a massive 7-lane interstate on each side of the road. 5 lanes each side, okay? Let's look at it that way. 5 lanes that way, 5 lanes that way. It's all blocked up, orange cones, traffic, exit ramps, on-ramps, and it's moving very, very slowly. And a lot of people get very frustrated in these situations, okay? So, with the High Priestess energy here, it's really like this, okay? And this is the only way I can describe it. I'm not going to say you're upped. What it is, it's just like everybody's living through these retrogrades. 7.5 billion people on Earth are living through these retrogrades right now, and you're one of them. So the way for you to deal with it is literally understand, like, oh my God. Something I can do. There really isn't anything you can do except live through it. And if you, in your situation, if it's uncomfortable, think of it as though like you're in a massive movement of traffic. I mean, I'm used to this from Los Angeles. 5 lanes this way, 5 lanes that way. And they all get congealed and things move very, very, very slowly. Now, obviously, you would have a reason to be extremely angry and frustrated. And you might want to like scream around. But the chances are you're going to get either arrested or have a crash or get into trouble. So you have no choice except to understand and accept and live with the unknown. Like, you don't actually know what's coming up next week or next month or the next few months. Let me show you something. Stay right there. Give me a second. Oh, how can I do this? Okay. All right, I'm going to go back to these retrogrades. Hopefully this will help you. Okay, here are all the retrogrades in September. Now look at this. It's still pretty bad in October, but by the middle of October, it starts to lighten up. Okay? And by November, we're just dealing with Uranus and Neptune. Okay? And then in December, it's really just Uranus, but we have a little bit of Venus retrograde. Okay? So it's almost like you're going through the worst of it right now. And again, I love to blame it on the planets, Jeffrey. So it's almost like, just imagine I am in a car and I'm on the freeway and I pulled up next to you, you pulled up next to me. I rolled down my window, you roll down your window, and you look at me and you go like, what the is going on? And I kind of go, I was just going to ask you. What can we do? Well, I don't know. What's on the radio? What are you playing on your radio? I don't know. 70s classics. I don't know. I'm playing like dance trance. Oh, okay, that's cool. And you just live through it. You just kind of like, you have to find the joy as you live through it, because trust me, Jeffrey, these retrogrades won't last forever. You will come out the other side of it, but you are, what I feel personally with this reading is that you are experiencing the extreme frustration and difficulties, what happens when you're living through retrogrades for Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. That's humongous. It's absolutely humongous. And for a lot of people, that'll just create fog of misunderstanding. And it's just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know. Like, I might as well just switch on a YouTube thing, or I don't know. I'll check my bank account, or I'll get on my smartphone and I'll do some social media with a few people. Like, are you feeling weird? Like, I'm feeling weird, and so on and so on. But that's kind of how people in the community live through these things. If you take it personally, you're screwed. You're going to end up creating so much more pain. So it's almost better if you allow the mystery to unfold. Understand that, with the Neptune energy, with the High Priestess energy, there's no way you could possibly know where this is going. There's no point in even trying to figure out a solution, because no one else can. Everyone else is trying the best they can, okay? So, okay, the way to deal with it is like, you have to live through the mystery, live through the unknown, surrender to the unknown, okay? And just please don't take it personally. As a businessman, of course, you want to solve problems. You want solutions. You want checks and balances. You want to have a calendar, a schedule, a plan, results and outcomes, obviously. But right now, the best thing to do is just kind of go like, oops, okay, we'll just have to deal with this. Because it's not personal, okay? It's not like anybody is trying to destroy your life or anything. Things are the way they are. Everything is exactly as it should be. And why is that so? It's because it can't be any other way. This is just your particular story and how you deal with it, okay? I see the notes there from Love Chamber. Jeffrey, thank you so much. I hope that helps you. Please give yourself a pat on the back. You're already an awesome person. You're already doing the best you can. Okay? Alright, here we go. Necessary Truth is up next. So, sometimes when Necessary Truth gets readings, it sometimes involves some of her invisible friends. As you know, some of you know that Necessary Truth is a psychic medium. And that's just how it is. She has a very strong connection with her invisible friends. I have that in my own way. And so let's just see what happens. So Necessary, if you're still there, I don't know if you fell asleep or had a nap or went to have a snack or something, but this is now time for your reading, okay? So I'm going to shuffle it up. I'm going to play a song called I Surrender. Oh, yes. Brilliant. Well done, Tarot Lumination. You're a genius. You figured out the perfect song to play. Let's see if it'll work. Let's see if it'll come up. Okay, my dear computer is struggling here. Here it comes. Here it comes. It's trying. It's working. I need a... Let's... Oh... Okay, my sorry, I'm having, let me try this one here. Let's see if this works.
Oh, how the body
No,
craves.
that's not it. Stop, shut up. No, it's not, come on. Oh, here we go. Try this one. This should work.
I surrender.
This is just a little song I wrote.
Oh, how the body craves. Oh, how the heart it aches. Oh, how the soul knows all of this. Feels like you manifested me in ways that match perfectly, answering my own wish for sure. So many lifetimes in the making, mistaking. I surrender, I surrender. My hands are held up high, my knees are on the ground. I surrender, I surrender. I hand myself over to the mystery of your sweet embrace. There's no going back, don't even have any maps to our new futures. There's only our next breath. We're so fully committed and so fully engaged, so courageous and fighters to the death, building bridges from your heart to my heart, forging bonds of honest structure. Our new start. I surrender, I surrender. My hands are held up high, my knees are on the ground. I surrender, I surrender. I hand myself over to the mystery of your sweet embrace. Oh, there's no way around this, only way out is through. There's no way around this, open the door to bliss. Only way out is through, that's what we're gonna do, yeah. I surrender, I surrender. My hands are held up high, my knees are on the ground. I surrender, I surrender. I hand myself over to the mystery of your sweet embrace. I surrender. My hands are held up high, my knees are on the ground. I surrender, I surrender. I hand myself over to the mystery of your sweet embrace.
So there you go. I hope that little song helped. Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you so much. I like to help out in any way I can. look at the truth. Look at the chat. Do you see that? Necessary Truth is calling in John and Chris. We've never done this before, people. Oh God. Some of you folks are folks who've been coming back and forth over the years. You'll know that Necessary Truth has her spirit guides, all sorts. She's very connected to the great beyond, and she does mediumship for people and so on. And she has two characters in particular, John and Chris, who have been with us several times before on this show. John has a certain character, and Chris has a certain character. John is the more, like, let's just say, serious one, and Chris likes to have fun with all of this stuff. And it's usually one or the other, but now we've got both going. Oh boy. It's going to be a rumble, people. Alright, let's have a look here. Okay. Let's see what kind of messages we got going on here. I just want to check. Hey, Sarah. Hello, Sarah Lake Mitchell. I see you there. I didn't see that earlier. Hello, All Sun. I didn't see that earlier either. Hello, greetings. Thank you. I just said hello to Frigidly God, you've had a really shitty time lately. I'll have an update soon. Okay, so I didn't see all of that. Hey, Fritterly, we'll connect, okay? We'll figure something out. I'd love to help out. I don't know if, let me see. Yeah. Okay, so, yeah. Hey, it's good to see you, Fritterly. Thanks for showing up. I know you've had some really, like, God knows. I can't even use the language on this channel. Yeah, let's rumble, people. Oh boy, yeah. Alright, I need to shuffle up a little bit more. I mean, I did some shuffling during the song, but I want to get things just... Let's see if we got it the right way up. Yeah, the cards are vertical right now. Oh boy. This is, I mean, you know, okay. So Terra Lumination is now officially almost, not completely, but sort of invisible. I actually have about 12,000 subscribers. And that was like 2.5 years ago. If the channel was healthy, I'd probably have 30, 40, 50,000 subscribers by now. And the notifications would go out, you know, for like, you know, 10,000 at a time or 5,000 at a time. But the way things worked out for the channel, it's just the opposite. So I feel a little bit frustrated, but it's like we're still here. We have our little thing that we do. And, you know, in some ways maybe I couldn't cope with anymore anyway. You know, things are the way they are. I have to live with my own, you know, whatever you call them, belief systems, just like the ones that I offer to the public. I have these preconceptions, you know, about how things should be and what. And when things go exactly the opposite direction, sometimes I take it really personally. I'm deeply offended by what happened to me on my channel. But then again, that's how it is. So what are you going to do with that? So with Necessary Truth, okay, it's almost like it's a curse. It's like, gosh, how can I do this without hurting anybody's feelings? I've always been a bit of a space cadet ever since I was a kid. Like art and music and writing and words and imagination and creativity and wanting to be dynamic and successful. So I tried all sorts of things, and it was just chaos compounded by more chaos. But I always came at it from a very kind of like jovial, optimistic perspective. And along the way, I became more and more connected with the esoteric world of things that are more or less invisible, like astrology and angels and remote healing and tarot and things like that. And yet, you know, just like you guys, I have to function in a physical world where you have to think about, in America, for example, you have to think about, making sure your debit card is up to date and making sure that your driving license is up to date and that you're paying all your bills and you're doing things as best you can to stay alive and take care of your health, your body, friends and family, spouses, children, pets, and all of that stuff. And so those are like physical, tangible aspects of reality. But the things that we do on this channel are often considered like to belong to the invisible realms, you know, the spirit. And so I'm at a point where there's not much difference for me anymore. It's just like the invisible stuff is as real to me as the visible, and the invisible stuff is as real to me. Did I say that right? Like, the visible stuff is almost invisible to me. It's like, okay, cars, houses, money, jobs, physical body, the physicality of life. It's just like, oh, it's so ephemeral. It just comes and goes like that. And on the other, you look at it from the other way, the spiritual side of life is so important to me. Like doing my little channel here, for example, that's one component. But when this show is over, I'm still the same character. I'm still Tarot Lumination, and I still connect with the great beyond. I check my charts every day. I check the weather every day. And figure out how am I going to get through the next day to get to the next day. So I feel like I'm having to, let's say, take a huge span between the invisible and the visible. And I've had to make that kind of my day job. Of course, no one's going to pay me that. No one's going to pay me because there's no one who's going to hire me to do that as a day job, just to survive. So I'm like, this channel is an example of what it's like to just at least offer my services as an intermediary between the intangible and the tangible. The intangible are things like we can't understand, from like the spirit, the heart, the soul, and the tangible are things that we can understand, like how it feels in your physical body, or how it looks like in your financial world, or your career, or your love life, or your relationships, or whatever. Those are tangible things. So I have had to learn how to traverse between these two extremes. And every day I'm learning something new. What's that note? Oh, look, I just want to check the notes here from Necessary. I know, I get no notifications. I have to check if you're live from 8 p.m. onwards. Don't take it personally. People who know your gift, they know it. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Necessary. No, there's really no notifications that go out anymore. The algorithm has basically... What can you do? You just heard that. Chaos, panic, and disorder. Yeah. My work is done here. Yeah. It's from a movie. I forgot which one. Okay. And so, I've over the years, especially over the last 6 years or 7 years or so, I encountered a lot of aspiring yogis, people who really, really, really were craving to get to those levels of frequency and vibration where you are consciously aware of the great beyond, because our souls crave that connection, even in this lifetime, and you can get to that point. And so there are people who provide access. Some of it's a bit of a scam. You have to be really, really careful. But either way, I was very lucky to meet people who helped me on my own journey. And so I was lucky to expand my own consciousness and awareness at the same time as expanding my own connection with physicality in life. Okay? Is it chaos, panic? My work is done here. To me, that sounds like something from Keanu Reeves from The Matrix, or somebody like that. One of those kind of, big cult movies. Anyway, let's get on with your reading. John and Chris are standing by. I had this little feeling earlier, Necessary Truth, like, You know when you see these like television interviews and they have someone sitting on a chair over here and someone sitting on a chair over here, and then there's the mediator in between? It feels like one of those situations. Spotlight is on Chris, spotlight is on John. And they're like, you know how they get on these quiz shows, on these talk shows, like, hello, good evening, yes. Oh, really? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, yes. Yeah. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, good point, yes. Blah, 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 blah. You know, and it felt to me that we're kind of in one of those situations, but it's like a mock-up, And I don't know if this will make sense to you, Necessary Truth, but I felt like, you know how guys do this thing where they adjust their tie? So it felt to me like Chris was trying to dress up to be like John, and then John was trying to be kind of like goofy like Chris. And so it was like John deliberately decided to wear a goofy tie and pretend to adjust it when really he doesn't give it. And then Chris put on a very, very conservative suit with a very conservative tie and did it like this to make it look as though like, yeah. So anyway, that's just a little bit of a backdrop. Let's do your reading. Come on. All right, here we go. Cheers. By the way, I'm going to have a little top up. Maria, I hope you're still awake. Sorry, I really start rambling when I start doing these readings anymore. Hey, Tina and Necessary, you guys need to hook up. I'll get you connected by email or something, and you can set up a reading or private reading or something, okay? Please remind me, okay? Okay? Cards are already well shuffled, but again, I'm going to the last moment. All right, here we go. Let's see. Hello, Robin. Good evening. Okay, that's a pretty extreme cut because I want maximum clarity. Okay, here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle it. Now remember, this is a reading for Necessary Truth, and we have invited Chris and John to participate, okay? Necessary Truth is used to this because those folks are with her all the time. Chris and John are a couple of her invisible friends. So we're going to do all of this through the lens of the Tarot Lumination situational spread. Let's have a look. External influences here, okay. So the Emperor. Ooh, this is a card of kind of like, feels like extreme power, where it's a time to it's almost like put your foot down, okay? It's like, dear Necessary Truth. Now this is not, I don't feel that this has anything to do with John or Chris right now. This is just generic energy from the solar system. With this Emperor energy here, my feeling is that, dear Necessary Truth, it is time to really put your foot down, stand firm, and do whatever has to be done for whatever is best for you without any apologies. I'm sorry, but that's just how it is. I don't know if that makes sense to you necessarily, because the chances are, because you're naturally loving by nature, it would be so easy for you to default or to forgive or to compromise yourself in order to, let's say, be sociable or romantic or caring, or to fit in with groups or societies or people or relationships. When I see this energy here, it's not acceptable anymore. To me, it feels like you're not actually at the break point. This is, when I see the Emperor here, it's like it's time to realize that you are heading towards a break point where, no, it's not, okay, I'm not, sorry. When I talk about break point, like it'll be a certain chapter, a moment in time where there's like a before and after. And I can't pinpoint that accurately, but it's not right now. It is not during these retrogrades. It's probably sometimes very close to the end of the retrogrades, towards the end of the year or early next year. But with the Emperor here, my feeling is that it's a message from the solar system that you, Necessary Truth, need to start preparing yourself where you no longer apologize or compromise yourself for doing what you have to do or being who you have to be in order to honor your sovereign self. And if anyone or anything else can't handle that, that's their problem. Okay? It's really simple. Simple is not easy. Okay, let's have a look. Oh gosh, I just had something very funny come in, Necessary. Before I even pulled this card, I got a message from John. It feels like John is over here, Chris is over here. And John said to me to tell you, like, I was going to tell her that. I was just going to tell her that. What you just told her, I was going to tell her. Believe me, dear John and dear Chris, I'm not trying to steal your light or your thunder. But this is how it works on this show. We're all connected right now. What's the situation itself? Hey, Queen of Cups. So my feeling is with the Queen of Cups here, you, dear Necessary Truth, are in a situation of like spiritual evolution where, oh gosh, I don't see how I can avoid bringing the astrology in again. Okay, we're dealing with all these retrogrades right now. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Just like with every other person on planet Earth, you are having to deal with that energy. And in your situation, it means having to take stock, take a reevaluation of who you really are, what are you doing in this life, in their world. And you're going deep. This is the perfect time to go deep, 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 deeper, 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 deeper. Go deep within. Ask yourself the questions that never even had any language before. And wait to hear the answers. And the answers will come to you. And they will come to you slowly over the next few months as these retrogrades start to unwind. Okay? And as that happens, the way I see it, you will learn more about yourself and who you are, and understand more about yourself and who you are than you ever did before. And it could not happen or could not have happened without you having chosen to be alive in this lifetime, where at this very particular moment in your life history, we're going through this massive wall of retrogrades. So for you, in your own particular situation, the way I feel it is these retrogrades are all about how it is time for you to guess, become more and more true to your sovereign self and the true power of your sovereign self, where it's like, it's almost, this is going to sound weird, but it's like the more and more and more you tune in to your sovereign self, where you literally do not apologize for being who you are, why you are, where you are, when you are, the way you are, with your moods, your feelings, your decisions, and your behaviors, with jobs, people, locations, situations, anything and everything around you. You don't apologize. You become more and more tuned in with your natural self, and that becomes your default setting. And then you realize, oh my gosh, my default setting is that I am loving, I am loved, I am a loving person, and I deserve to be loved. But what does that actually look like? Well, I don't think you're going to actually know what it's going to look like until you actually live through this experience. We're talking about several months here, probably the rest of the year, to deal with this reading. And so, okay, hold on. Give me a second. I'm just picking up a couple of things here. Okay. You said something on the screen about John's going to take over. Well, that's sort of happening already, but there's no problem with any of that. The way I was speaking in this reading, Necessary Truth, is that I was acting as Terra Lumination, but now I look at it, it's like it's essentially a message from John, and Chris is more or less here for support. It's just like, don't worry about me. Don't worry about me. Like, I care for Necessary just as much as John, but this is really about what we can't afford to dick around here. We got to get to the core of the reading, and John is spot on, and Terra Lumination is doing a good job of conveying that. Thank you very much. So Chris, it's like Chris is happily over here, like going, it's okay. Just go at it, have fun, everybody. No problem, okay? All right, so there's a lot of question marks here. Okay, a lot of question marks, because to me it feels like hold on. Right now, Necessary. I'm actually listening. Okay, it's like the message is you need to prepare yourself now, not with any details, but with a clear understanding that you're going to be challenged over the next few months to know your true self, understand what it really, really means. Like you're going next level. You are going next level. And no matter how evolved you are, Necessary Truth, being a psychic medium means you're kind of already up there with all the ESP, hypersensory perception, and all that kind of stuff. But it actually never stops. That's one of the problems with spiritual evolution. It never actually stops. You think you've ascended to like a master yogi, and then you realize, oh my God, then there's all this other stuff to do. And you get to there and you realize, oh my God, there's all this other stuff. It never ever stops, okay? So that's what's kind of going on here. And all these retrogrades are a chance for you to slow down a little bit, pull back from the front lines of life, feeling like you have to be the eternal optimist and everything's wonderful, everything's going to go great all the time, and instead give yourself a few moments of pause, basically every day, like a little 2, 3, 5 minute meditative moment where you just switch off, disconnect, and you allow the energy of spirit to come to you. You allow the healing power of love to come to you so that you don't have to go chasing it. You don't have to seek it. In other words, it's sort of like this. Maybe this sounds weird because I used to do this years ago, but the channel kind of went, so I don't do it much anymore. But basically, it's like this. I ask for the healing power of love to fill my body from up above. I ask for the healing power of love to fill my mind from up above. I ask for the healing power of love to fill my heart from up above. I ask for the healing power of love to fill my soul from up above. And then you wait. And then you accept, and then you receive. It is time contingent. So in other words, you can't just say, I got that. It is by invocation. And so with the retrogrades, it's a perfect time for you to deliberately establish, like, what has to happen here is that necessary truth. I have to ascend to my next level of sovereign self. I'm already at this, and that's really, really cool. I got my invisible friends, I got my guardian angels and spirit guides and all that. But there's more. So, please bring to me that which is mine. Please take away from me that which is not mine. And then in human terms, with Saturn energy, we have to wait. And then it happens. But you don't necessarily know exactly what's going to happen because it's all new. Never happened before. You're living in a physiological lifetime that has an hourglass. In spirit, the hourglass doesn't really exist, but here on earth, the hourglass is real. So, the energy is that these retrogrades are a tremendous opportunity for you to basically say, enough is enough, enough. Enough, enough, enough. I have a right to be my fullest sovereign self. So we're going to do that. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I need to invite that in. And as it comes in and however it manifests, I do not apologize. There you go. Got it? Got it? All right, let's have a look. What's the problem here? Okay, so it might feel like kind of isolating. For example, if you feel that dear necessary truth, that for you to go to the next level, you have to deliberately cut yourself off from people or love or relationships to the point where you feel impoverished, that's totally understandable because it's almost like learning how to become one's full sovereign self and committing to being one's full sovereign self. It feels in some ways like, oh my God, I'm being extremely selfish. It's all about me, 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 me. On the other hand, how can you possibly be the best version of yourself if you have not made a pledge to yourself to be your most sovereign self? You know, I talk about sometimes on the channel, like, number one, remember, love thyself. It's actually the very hardest thing to do because it's much easier to compromise and give away and shake up and fit in here, fit in there, accommodate someone else's fractured truth or whatever. But for you, dear necessary, it's actually works against you. Like if you deliberately compromise yourself to accommodate people, life, jobs, situations that you know are not really in alignment with your most awesome self, you're actually doing yourself a disservice and the rest of humanity. And yet at the same time, like, oh, God, it's like, it's almost like, TL, that's not fair. It's like you're telling me to become so completely isolated and selfish and fractured from love and relationships that I'll never have a chance to love and be loved in the good old-fashioned sense. And okay, this is Tarot Illumination talking, but let's just say this is John putting out the word. The word is that with the Five of Pentacles here, this is fear. This is just a fear that by tapping into the reality, your physical reality of what it really, really takes for you to be you, what does that actually look like in your day-to-day life? Like when you wake up in the morning and you feel like, you know what? I need to switch on my coffee machine. That's what I have to do. Then you do that. And if circumstances, pets, relationships, social media, phones, or whatever, or jobs or careers get in the way, and you kind of go like, oh damn it, I'll just pick up something on the way when I go. I'll pick up a coffee on the way. And you've compromised yourself. My feeling here with this reading is that it's really, really important to honor it's almost like your sacred rituals, your sacred rites, your sacred physical reality. Like if you need your bedroom, bathroom, living room, hallway, or car, or whatever it is, to be a certain way for you to be happy, then you make it so, and you don't apologize. And if that gets disrupted, then you fix it and you don't apologize. Same with life and love and relationships. It doesn't mean you have to be really, really mean and say like, dear so-and-so, if you are not willing to conform and comply to my parameters about life and love relationship, it's over, it's done. No, I'm not saying that. All I'm suggesting is that we have to be aware that we make decisions about the people in life and love and relationships, jobs, opportunities with whom we interact. And so the fear is that it's like, oh my God, did I make the wrong decision? Am I with the wrong people at the wrong time, at the wrong place, for the wrong reasons, to my impoverishment? Oh no, oh no, oh no. Well, those are very, very good questions. You might want to rewind that little tiny bit there, okay? Necessary, just that little bit right there. I think that's pivotal to this reading. Okay, how are we going to deal with this? To me, this looks like extreme self-doubt while you are being, let's say, ushered into a time period where this is an incredible opportunity for you to, let's say, do a major upgrade. But that means understanding everything and anything that doesn't work. Okay, so necessary. I do a lot of stuff on my computer here, and I'm constantly having to upgrade, and get rid of the degrades all the time to keep things operating smoothly. And it's the same thing with human life. Like you can't keep operating on a smartphone from 10 years ago or a computer from 15 years ago. It's just not going to work. You have to keep up with things. Okay, let's have a look. How are we going to deal with this? Okay. I'm just going to feed Mia. That's a full-time job. Olson says stay away from space debris. Yeah, for sure. So with the Six of Cups here, the way I'm seeing this is it's like the way to deal with your situation here, like the theme, to me it looks like there's a theme going on where despite all these retrogrades, they're actually working for you. It's a tremendous time for you to do a lot of upgrades, a lot of upgrading, and not taking it personally. In other words, all the things that aren't working for you in life, don't take it personally. Just take it as an indicator that, oh, I need an upgrade. You know? So with the Six of Cups here, my feeling is that you can get a lot of feedback and a lot of messages from people you know already. People in your life, in your world, like TL, like Allsun, like Tina, like anyone here on this channel, anyone you connect with in your day-to-day life. If you could see them through the lens of past lives where, let's just imagine you're like in an amazing movie, and you can look at all your most intimate characters as reincarnations of souls and energies and people that you've already known who have your best interests at stake, because they know that by, let's say, facilitating your evolution, you in turn facilitate their evolution. Does that make sense, Necessary Truth? Seriously, I hope so, because we're really stretching things on this reading here, all right? And it's to do with heart and soul love energy. In other words, the answers to your situation are already beyond you. They're already around you. But the answers will come from, I'd say, living in and immersing yourself in the relationship dynamics of the people who are closest to you, and understanding that for better or worse, they are there for you, and you are there for them. And it's all like it's preordained as part of your evolutionary journey. So, like when you run into someone at the grocery store, or Allsun, or anyone from the channel, it's almost like that's exactly how it should be, because you can learn so much by engaging with them, and they can learn so much by engaging with you. And it's like a blessing. You become a blessing for them, they become a blessing for you. And it's all part of your spiritual journey unfolding in the great beyond. But you're sensing it here in this physical life as, oh my God, oh goodness, it's already September, it's going to get cold in the northern hemisphere. Whoa, I got to figure out what to do. What's going to happen next? What's going to happen in my life? Well, I hope this reading helps you to deal with that. The way I see, okay, I'm going to try and condense everything. The way I see it, Necessary Truth, is like this is a great time for you to take advantage of the retrogrades and realize that this is all perfect. And then every time you encounter a situation or a person or an experience that jars with you or creates a response, or like, wow, that felt good, or that felt really bad, then look at it through the lens of this reading, like, oh, I was meant to have that experience. And it could feel totally random. You know, it could be a person at a grocery store, a person in the workplace, a person online or something. But it's all felt person to person. And that's how you learn more and more and more how to become your own sovereign self through the process of one-on-one interaction with other people. And that could be any people. You know, the person behind the counter at a convenience store is just as significant as the person you lay with. You know, they all have meaning and purpose. I know we don't see it that way, but in spirit, that's how it is. So I hope that helped you. I think in essence, it's like with the Six of Cups, the way to deal with it is like give yourself permission to lean on the past. Give yourself permission to look at your people, your life, your most intimate life in your world as characters, like in a screenplay or a movie or live theater, where it was all preordained. Like they're all there for you, but they're not allowed to tell you in advance because that would spoil the lesson. You see? Think of it like Shakespeare, you know? Like there's more and more and more to this than what meets the eye. You'll be okay. Thanks, Necessary. All right, Maria, you're up. Except for the grocery lever. Oh my gosh. This are you saying that you just happen to know that your grocery store person happens to be a Libra? Wow. Anyway, thank you, Necessary. I hope that helped. We're just trying to get through life here. Yeah, especially like you were saying, like characters in a movie. Yes. So, dear Necessary, Neptune, Piscean energy represents movies, television, and fantasy and stories like that. So it's perfectly, imagine the lights are shining right now on that particular aspect, wherever this aspect lies in your chart, okay? Take advantage of these things. These are incredibly powerful energy fields. The best thing to do is take advantage of them rather than let yourself be victimized, okay? You're going to be just fine, okay? Necessary? All right, Maria. Yay, go Maria. Okay, I got to shuffle up. Give me a second. All right, so we are shuffled up, people, ready to go. Let's rave, baby. All right, Maria. Good evening. Blind reading, please. No problem. You know I love to do those blind readings. Cards are very well shuffled. We just had a little mini break there. Again, bless this whole deck, bless the cards, bless everything. It's amazing that we can do any of this at all. It's beyond comprehension, but this is what we do, and this is how we do it. All right, here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle it. And let's have a look at the atmosphere. Ten of Pentacles. Wow. Okay. Well, I'm really happy to see this, Maria. To me, what this indicates to me is that it's about time that it's almost, to me, again, with all these retrogrades, I feel like it's a reevaluation and a reprogramming, a reassessment, a redefining of what really, really, really counts for you. I'm going to try and put this up here with the best image possible. I hope you can see that. It's a beautiful card. It's the Ten of Pentacles. It isn't just about abundance in spirit and heart. It's about, having that feeling in this physical life. Your physical body, like understanding, like, wow, I am this person. I know I'm here for a while and then I'm gone. I know that I've lived all my life up to this moment in time, and everything is exactly as it should be. And I know I have all this life ahead of me. But that's a huge question mark. Huge question mark, okay? What? Hold on, I just saw something on the screen. Robin has a reading at Jupiter. Oh my God, sorry. Wow, I didn't see that. I'm sorry, Robin. Hold on, huh? Give me a second, Maria. Okay, I cannot take any more readings after that. There you go, Robin. I got you. Got you, okay? Thank you. All right, okay, sorry about that. All right, Maria. So we've got the Ten of Pentacles here. The way I look at it, it doesn't mean you're going to suddenly win the lottery and get rich and buy a big house and everything's going to be perfect and you can invite all your friends over to live with you for free and you have a wonderful time all the time. No. I think it's much more about, this is a really good time right now to look at your world and assess your world in very practical terms. Like here in this physical life on this earth, we're talking about money. Things like retirement, savings, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, rent, mortgages, credit card, all the things that a lot of Americans and Western Europeans and developed countries have to deal with all day, every day in terms of managing their three-dimensional life. So much of three-dimensional life is consumed with managing money. Money comes in, money comes out. If you look at money as a form of energy, what is the source of that energy? What is the nature of that energy? How does it arrive to you? And then depending on your skills with energy management, how are you going to manage that energy?